Hey guys, what's going on? So this video is going to be a little bit different today. I'm going to discuss a topic and some tips I have on it. So the title of this video is how to buy a car for cash. Now a lot of you are thinking, okay, well duh, I go buy one, right? But I know a lot of you are going to have problems with this. A lot of people are going to want to go get payments. There's different mindsets on that. A lot of people say, that payments aren't bad, especially like say you have the cash that you can basically leverage that cash to get something else. In my opinion, there's a lot of risk involved in that. People have different ideas about it, and ultimately a lot of people, finance stuff and they're doing just fine. But especially for younger people, or people that maybe don't have a lot of cash saved up or they already have some debt, I recommend against it. You really shouldn't be taking out a car loan unless you have a very successful business where you can, write off all your miles, or maybe if it's a lease and you can genuinely write off 100% of your lease while being ethical. Other than that, I don't really see value in it. I've had plenty of car loans. I've bought many cars cash now too. And I can tell you personally, for me, it's better to pay cash. So a couple of tips I have for you. Really, I'll try and break it into 3 steps. So step 1 is obviously evaluate your income, how much money you have, and how much is disposable right now. So basically, if you have any cash right now that isn't for something immediate, I'd say put it aside, especially if you're looking to get a car. Put it aside in an account, in a sock drawer, in a safe, in wherever. Make a new account at a credit union so there's no fees. Put that money away and keep it, okay? Step 2 is going to be to start looking. So I'd say if you're, in California, we use Craigslist. I'm not sure if that's nationwide, but that's where you're going to look for private deals. You're always going to find a better deal on a used vehicle, which, as you know, again, if you're not writing off depreciation for a business, you want to avoid depreciation as much as possible. I mean, basically buying most car with the least amount of depreciation, or maybe a really nice car that was expensive and now it's worth less. So you're getting the upside of the depreciation. So second is going to be to look in your market, what's around you, what kind of cars you want. Just start becoming familiar with it. Learn how to identify a deal. When a good deal comes up, you want to be able to recognize that. So when you have the cash, you can hop on it. Now, third step is going to be basically figure out what payment you thought you'd be okay with, or you think you would be okay with if you got a car, and add $100 to it. Okay, now hear me out. Most people, I've talked to a lot of people over time, and I know for myself, most people, they say $250 is solid, really under $300. But most people say, hey, if I can get a good car payment for $250 on a car I like, or that's sweet, or gets the job done, I'm happy with that. Well, what they don't consider is you're going to pay higher insurance. If you have a loan, all banks that I've ever worked with, and there's a lot of them, part of my job, I work with banks, they require full coverage insurance. So it's going to be more expensive insurance, and a lot of the times they're also going to make you get higher than minimum coverage for liability, comp, and collision. So that's something to consider. So most people who say, okay, I'm fine with a $250 car payment, who don't have a car payment, are also paying for minimum coverage liability. So really that $250 payment is going to be more like $350 after their insurance rise. Some people it's even more than that, especially depending on your age, how many years you've been driving, and the car you're driving. So here's what I say. So get $250 or $350 if you can. You get $350, and rather than go sign up for a car loan, put that in the bank, right? Every month. So pay yourself the car payment. Now over, let's say, 10 months at $300 flat for easy numbers, that's going to be $3,000. Well, you're going to have 2 more months of that. So basically in a year, you'd be at $3,600, right? And that's assuming you're only doing $300. Maybe you're saying, hey, $450 is my number, so call it $550 with insurance, right? And now you're saving a lot of money. Plus your nest egg. Plus, if you have maybe an older vehicle, you can go there. Now, this is straight from Dave Ramsey, that kind of mentality. I follow several gurus. He's one of them. I don't know if you'd call him a guru, but he's kind of like a coach. He's all about, debt freedom. I believe in most of his practices and his teachings. Not all of them. But so that's my tip. Now, here's another way to get there a little bit faster, especially if you need a car now, that really helps. Go out, especially if you have $1,000, $2,000, you can absolutely buy a car that runs and is decent for $2,000. $1,000 is tough. Now, a lot of people may say that's impossible. Well, trust me, I've bought a lot of cars for $2,000 or less, and it's possible. They may not be listed at $2,000 or less, but especially once you kind of, have talked to enough people, you understand what you're talking about, the market, you can get a car, if someone posts a car for $3,500, they might be really high on price, and if you can talk to them over the phone and text them, kind of feel them out, and basically say, hey, are you open to negotiation, and and maybe just show up with $2,200 cash or $1,800. Now maybe that's a stretch from a $3,500 car, but you get the point. So get yourself a $2,000 car and drive it. Still pay yourself those car payments as much as you can. Look to sell other stuff, stack your money up. Now here's the beauty of a $1,000 to $2,000 car. They really don't depreciate. Almost always will someone pay $2,000 for a car that runs. Seriously. I mean, it could not smog, it could look like crap. If it runs, someone will buy it. Now I will say, if it doesn't smog, it'll be tough because a lot of people aren't going to drive a car that's not going to be registered, and so they'll buy it, but maybe for $500. So really, if you can get something that's reliable enough, Toyota, Honda are going to be your main two brands that are going to be easy. But even older Fords and stuff, Chevys, they're easy to work on. They do last. But if you can get a car that runs and that smogs, don't care about what features it has. Don't care about what kind of gas mileage. Obviously, don't get like a giant lifted truck, but don't care about all that stuff. Just get yourself a $2,000 car, $1,000 car, cheapest car you can get. What that will do is that will hold its value. If you put 15,000 miles on it in a year, if it still drives and it still smogs, I promise you'll be able to sell it for $1,000 to $2,000. So really, you're not going to lose any money. So here's the beauty. Buy a car that you think, okay, maybe if it has high mileage, like let's say it's a Honda Civic with 210,000 miles, which is a lot of miles even for a Honda. You can get it. Make sure it runs and there's no big issues and that it does smog. That's very important. You can put 15,000 miles on that, driving it for a year, and okay, let's say you saved up $4,000. Well, you can sell your used Honda that maybe now has 235. The value's not going to change. Someone will pay $2,000 for it if it runs, if it smogs. So now you got your $2,000 when you sell it, plus your $4,000 that you saved up. Well, now you got $6,000 to upgrade yourself into a new car. Now from there, you can keep the $2,000 car, keep saving, because if you do that for 2 years, now you have $8,000 plus your $2,000 car. But the reality is, once you start doing this, you're probably going to save more. You're going to find new things to sell. You're going to identify deals. You're going to see that, hey, it's very easy to buy a nice vehicle for, $8,000 cash, even $5,000, $6,000. You can get a pretty decent car if you know what you're looking for and what you want. Now, that's not going to be, a super nice luxury car or maybe a really cool sport car, but it could be. And anyways, the point isn't to drive a crazy car. The point is to drive a nice car that you can be proud of, feel good about, and to pay cash. That's who this video is for. It's to tell you that, hey, it is possible. Obviously, if you're working maybe part-time, minimum wage, or right around there, you're going to have to get your income up. You might need a second job, do some other stuff. But the reality is, once you start this process, you're going to be amazed how quickly you can start saving money. And you're going to just feel a lot better, because trust me, if something comes up and you can't pay yourself a car payment, you can't save the money that you promised yourself you would save, that feels a hell of a lot better than signing a note to a bank and having to come up with something to pay the bank. Because what happens if you don't pay your car note? Well, obviously they're going to hit you with late fees. It's going to jack up your credit, but it can be repossessed. They can file judgments against you. They can, you just don't want to get mixed up in banks like that. This video is not going to be helpful for everybody, but hopefully it helps some of you. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, comment in the video below, or excuse me, in the comments below. Subscribe, like this video if it helped you. Let me know if there's any other topics you might want help on, but I think a lot of people don't hear this, and it's very useful. I see too many people doing well. They go out, sign up for a car payment, and it just drains their wealth because they have this cool car, but they're paying a lot of money on it monthly. It's just going down and down in value, and at the end of a couple of years, they have a car that's not nearly as cool to them as when they bought it. And guess what? Now it's worth half or less than half of what they paid on it. They paid more than they would have had to up front because of interest and extra little dealer fees. That's just my advice. It doesn't work for everybody. I know a lot of you are still going to go out and finance cars and lease cars. I just want to let you know, hey, it's not the only way. There are ways around it, and they work. I've done it, and the 4Runner that you'll see in my video, I bought that all cash, and that was like my first nicer vehicle that I bought all cash. And I've had, again, a lot of vehicles, some of a couple brand new vehicles, and it's just, in my opinion, not worth it. Now, when I have maybe a career where I can depreciate that, things are going very well and successful, at that point, maybe I would finance or lease purely if I can write it off, if it makes sense in that way. But I can tell you, people that have, say, $20,000 and they want to buy a $20,000 car, and they argue that, hey, if I'm paying, because they have great credit, if I'm paying 1%, 0%, 2% interest, even 4 or 5% interest on this car, but I put zero down or very little down, say $5,000, and now I have $15,000 of leverage into a different investment that possibly gives me, let's say, a 10-12% return, which is high, by the way. They argue that, hey, this is a better use of my money, and people that don't want debt don't understand how leverage works. Well, that's not true. What they're not considering is the risk, right? Because if that investment doesn't perform, well, now you are paying more, and even worse, say your investment goes belly up, well, hey, now you have a car note, and you're financing something that's depreciating, and you don't have the money that you thought you were leveraging to win. So, again, there's plenty of people that make it work. I'm not hating on anyone that does that or that's successful at it. This is just more for your average guy or gal that wants to do it smartly, that wants minimal risk, especially when maybe they're starting a business or starting their career or just starting their life, or maybe you're trying to get out of debt but you don't want to drive a scrape. These are important things. So again, hope this video helped. It's going kind of long now, so I'm going to cut it off. If you have any questions about this or anything else, leave them in the comments below. Like this video if you found it useful, and please subscribe. I'll see you next time. Thanks.